How to Practice at Home. Hello, my friend. Good to see you. How are you? Great. So listen, today I am going to give you lots of ideas about how to practice speaking English when you are alone at home. Home Alone sounds like a film. Are you ready? Let's do it. Hello, and if you don't know me, my name is Anna. I run the channel 247 Reader. So, listen. Today we're going to be looking at how to practice speaking English when you are alone at home. It's not so easy for many people, right? Because maybe you don't have any native English speakers in your city. Maybe there are no tourists that you can go and harass. Maybe there are no groups locally where you can go and chat and speak English. And maybe you're not ready to go on Skype and try to find some random English person to chat with, somebody you don't know. I mean, that can be quite hard, especially if you're a little bit shy like me. So what I want to do today is share with you lots of ideas about how you can practice speaking when you're on your own at home alone. Right, good. Now, if you do know me, you may be thinking, what's that strange orange block over there? That wasn't there before. True, and this is my meditating mat. Sometimes I sit and meditate on it, sometimes I don't. I'm just tidying at the moment, so I couldn't find a place to put it. So right now, it's over there. Okay, the truth about speaking is that, yes, you can watch videos, you can watch films, you can listen to podcasts, all of that is great. But at some point, you need to start speaking. And you can speak on your own, but also later you'll need to start interacting and practicing speaking with people. But that's not always easy to do. So right now, today, I'm going to focus on some really practical, simple activities you can do when you're on your own at home to start practicing speaking. So the first technique is called Speak into the Mirror. And this is really useful, but it's really simple, right? It's easy because you can do this first thing in the morning when you're brushing your teeth. Well, you can't speak and brush your teeth, but just before you brush your teeth. And in the evening, before going to bed, when you wash your face. What do you mean you don't wash your face in the evening? Why not? My mother always told me, make sure you wash your face, clean behind your ears, wash your neck, scrub your neck. Yeah, wash your face before you go to bed. It takes all the dust and pollution off your face, apparently. Anyway, that's a great time that you can do it. And this is good because the key to learning and preparing for IELTS is habit, right? And if you can attach your learning to an existing habit, like brushing your teeth or washing your face, then it makes it much easier. Now, I used to do this when I was learning Chinese. In the morning, after brushing my teeth, I would just have a few sentences talking about what I'm going to do today in the future, right? Speaking in Chinese, today I'm going to go to the park. I need to go to the supermarket. I'm going to buy some vegetables. I'm meeting Jack at 6. I might go to the cinema. All in the future. Brilliant. And then, at the end of the day, you can talk about what you did or what you have done, right? Today, I went to the park. I played football. I went shopping. In the end, I've done a lot. It has been a good day, right? Past tense, present perfect as well. So you can see it's actually great to practice different tenses. It's a bit like writing your diary at the end of the day, right? Which is also a great way to practice writing. But this is speaking in front of the mirror. It's nice. It's reflective learning in many ways. Okay, moving on. The next one I call collocation fun, right? Collocations are words that are often used together, right? Like we talk about heavy rain, Heavy rain in English. We don't say big rain. Today there's big rain. No, there is heavy rain. So these are collocations. Collocation fun is where we're going to practice speaking using a very common teaching method, really based on the task-based approach to teaching. And it's based on prepare, practice, present. So we'll be preparing the words, the collocations, practicing sentences, and then presenting a whole talk. Okay, now, the reason I suggest doing this in front of the mirror is that actually there are great benefits to talking to a mirror, right? First of all, mirrors don't answer back, like young children or wives. But apart from that, when you're speaking in the mirror, you can look at your mouth and see the kind of movements that you're making, which is great. It's useful for pronunciation. You can also check your body language. You may be surprised to see that you speak like that, without ever moving your arms, or that you suddenly realize you're doing this all the time. That's fine. But being aware of your body language can be quite good. And also, you feel like you're talking to someone, right? Many people I know, and this happened to me, practiced for a long time with a book. Then, when I went to speak to somebody in the foreign language, it was like a shock seeing this face in front of me. Oh my God. But practicing with the mirror, you get used to a face in front of you, right? So, it does help. So, let's look then. Prepare, practice, and present. Preparing. What I suggest you do here is take a topic. A recent topic we were studying in the live lesson was science, right? And then get some collocations. You can use your course book if you want. You can get onto the internet. You can go to my channel and watch other content like How to Learn English, My Struggle to Learn English, and others, etc. This one's called 24/7 Reader, and in here you've got free video lessons. You can go through the free video lessons, and there is a recent one on how to learn English. So you can just listen, right? Download the video. Yeah, we want to download that. And then find in there all the collocations. Look, you've got the notes here, and here you've got collocations, idioms, you've got loads of stuff. What I would do is take maybe 6 or 7 collocations or idioms, like exact science. It's not rocket science to be on the same wavelength, and that's the preparation, right? That's step 1. Step 2, practice. In front of the mirror, just make a sentence with it, right? Exact science. Well, parenting, bringing up children is not an exact science. Cooking. Cooking is not an exact science. Frying an egg. It's not rocket science. It's actually quite easy. And then, I'm just practicing sentences here. Step 3. Present. At the end, after practice, present. I take one of the old Part 2 questions around science. Maybe something like, describe an area of science you're interested in. And then, start to talk about it for maybe a minute and try, if possible, to use some of these phrases and sentences, right? So, you may say something like this. Describe an area of science you're interested in. Well, okay, I guess an area I'm interested in actually is cooking. And I know it's not an exact science, but I guess it's a branch of science. A branch of food science, maybe, right? And I am interested in the science behind cooking. I think it's very interesting. I know with cooking, when you heat things up, they change. And when you mix different things, like sugar and vinegar, you get different levels of acidity and chemical reactions. Happens. So I think it's really interesting, right? I think chefs and scientists are really on the same wavelength because they're trying to experiment and discover new things, whether it's cooking, new dishes, or things like that. I know cooking isn't rocket science, but I am interested in how it works. And so, yes, although it's not a hard science, I think it's an interesting area of science for me. So you can see what I'm doing here is not really giving a perfect part two answer. I'm just trying to activate and practice some of these expressions that I've been learning. And that's it, really. So, that's it. It's great because preparing the collocations, practicing the sentences, and then presenting a talk is a really tried and tested method. Doing it in front of the mirror is great. You get everything. You get the contact with somebody, but you can also see yourself and you can monitor yourself. It's really, really effective. Collocation fun? Great. I want to go and do it. It sounds like so much fun. I'm going to do it again right now. I'll be back in a moment. And next up is practice with short audios. Now, I am a big fan of extensive listening. Listening to podcasts and films, that's great. But when it comes to speaking, I think short audios are much better. They are bite-sized chunks, they're easy to use, and your concentration is shorter, for shorter periods of time. You can work with, for example, recorded sample answers. There are many websites that have those. Not written, it must be recorded, right? You want to listen and then speak. There's a tool that I've talked about in the past to many of the students here. It's called Link, and I like it because it's full of short audios that you can use to help start speaking. And it's free. I mean, there is a paid version, but you can get lots of stuff for free, which is great. So, let me show you first of all how that might work. This is LingQ. Okay, I'm not going to explain how it works. You can find that out once you sign up for free. But basically, there's a library and you choose your level here. So, let's say I'm going to go intermediate, and you can choose different audios to listen to down here. I've got one of my previous lessons here about sport that I will open up. Let me just show you briefly how it works. We'll just focus on the bit on the left, okay? Okay, let's try. Hello, Steph. Hello, Steve. Nice to see you again. Nice to see you again. So what I want you to focus on first is, as you listen to the sentence, pick out the stressed words. Nice to see you. Like to chat a bit about your interest in sports. Chat, interest, sports. So I'm just repeating the stressed words. Chat, interest, sports. Sure, you lived in Japan for quite a few years, I think. Lived Japan? Years, I think. Right, about 9 years. 9 years. Okay, so you can see I'm just doing the word stress. You can also pick out chunks or phrases that you like or that sound interesting. You lived in different cities? That's right. I lived in Sendai for 4 years, which is a little bit north of Tokyo. A little bit north. That's interesting. Not in the north, not located in the north. It's a little bit north of Tokyo. For 4 years and then 1 year down south in Shikoku. Down south. Interesting. Not in the south. Down south. Okay. And did you play any sports when you were in Japan? A little bit. A little bit. I love that. A little bit. A little bit. Played a little bit of soccer. I played a little bit of soccer. A little bit of soccer. Isn't that great? So you can see I'm picking out either the stressed words or little phrases or chunks that I like. And this is really helping us listen and prepare for speaking. Next, what you'll do after you've finished is, you want? You can check the transcript as you listen again. That's fine. But at the end, what I would like you to try and do is repeat the audio or the lesson by giving a summary. So repeat it with your own words, not reading, not listening. In fact, you can just close that and focus on your own words, right? Oops. And then, after you've done that and you've had a bit of practice, you could try to retell the lesson or the story and record yourself. If you're not sure, you can use mobile apps to record your voice. There's Vocaroo, which is also a very simple online voice recorder. Recording yourself is great because it puts pressure on you, and that, my friend, is good. Also, once you've listened back, you can compare your version to the original lesson or story with the transcript. See if it's different. Did you make a mistake? Instead of saying a little bit of football, did you say a little bit football? Or did you use different collocations? For example, instead of individualized sports, did you say personal sports? Something different? That noticing again puts pressure on you, which is great. It also helps you notice language differences, which is a kind of feedback that is essential to improvement. So that's it. Practice with short audios. The next one is really fun, and it's about imitating your favorite English-speaking actor or actress. Okay, so when you watch a film in English, pick some of the actors that you really like and pretend to be them, right? You're copying their body language, their gestures, their facial expressions, their accent, their voice, their words. You're copying everything. Why does this work? Because it's all about identity. A key part of language learning is your identity as an English speaker. As students, we often have a mask, or we can create a mask, that we hide behind when we speak a foreign language. And this can be very, very helpful to reduce anxiety or stress, especially if you're shy or you don't want to be embarrassed about making mistakes. When you have this mask to hide behind, it doesn't matter because you're being somebody else. And it's great fun to do this with actors and actresses you like. Let me show you a very, very simple example. There's a great actor called Rowan Atkinson. You may know him as Mr. Bean, but he plays a myriad of characters. One of his recent ones is Johnny English, right? Let's have a look at Johnny English. I'm not sure. Let me clear up the uncertainty for you. You haven't. So it's about taking the character, trying to do the voice and the whole body. You become that character. And you can do this when you're practicing speaking on your own, right? You probably don't want to do it when you're out and about at the shops or speaking to foreigners like, "Hello?" They'll think you're Johnny English. They'll think you're mad. But when you're having fun at home, it can be a great way to practice. So that's it. Imitate your favorite English-speaking actor. The next one is to send audio messages. Now, when you're using Facebook, WhatsApp, or other social media platforms that have a chat facility, you probably send text messages, right? And you probably send them in your own language. But why not think about sending them in English? And go a step further. Send an audio message rather than a written one, because that will help you practice speaking English. You can do this if you have some friends who speak English, or even with family members. You can have a bit of fun with them, practicing by sending messages to each other in English, or any other language, right? I mean, we do. This, sometimes, can be quite fun to do. And the great thing about sending audio messages is that it's not like a live phone conversation where the pressure is there. You have time to prepare, to think about what you're going to say, to record it, And if you don't like it, delete it and record it again. But it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It's just about practice, not perfection. So, sending audio messages is a great way to do it. Next up, imitate the English foreigner. Now, I'm sure most people can imagine or know how English people speak your language, right? If you've got tourists in your country or you've met people from other countries who speak your language, how do the English people sound when they speak it? Now take that sound, that accent, and start to use it. For example, let's imagine I'm Spanish, right? And I'm thinking, how do English people speak Spanish? They don't speak it perfectly. They speak with an English accent, right? So the Spanish person would try and speak Spanish with an English accent, and then switch to English, but keep that accent. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Can you hear that? The same pronunciation and accent. It's easy to switch. And suddenly, my English sounds English. It sounds great, right? That's it. I'm doing an example with Spanish, but you could do this with any other language. Think about how English people speak your language. Speak your language with that accent, and then switch to English, keeping that British or American accent. It really can be quite useful and fun to boot. Great. Now the next idea is shadowing. Of course, a shadow, right? If the sun is shining down on the floor behind you, you have a shape, the same as you, dark. That's your shadow. The sun leaves a shadow. You leave a shadow. And to shadow someone is to follow them. So if I shadow you, it means I'm following you. Sometimes detectives will shadow suspicious people, right? Now in language, when we shadow somebody, it means repeating them, but very closely behind them. Remember, wherever you go, your shadow follows very closely. So here's what to do. 1. Find a short audio. 2. Listen for maybe a minute. 3. Repeat, almost on top of the voice, but just a fraction of a second behind. You're just behind them, but you are following very, very closely. Do not wait for the sentence to finish and then repeat. This is different. This is about being really close behind them. It forces you to pick up on word stress and intonation. And if you focus on those two things, it really can help build up your speaking skills. Let me demonstrate. We've taken an audio from Q-Lips or Q-Lips. First of all, I recommend you listen to the minute completely so you get an idea of what it's about. And I've already done that because I'm well prepared. Now, the second time, you listen and shadow. Let me show you how close we are behind it. I'm going to use my phone so you can hear properly. So, Jeremy, let's get into it. Talk about how to talk about movies and music and the kind of artwork that enriches our lives. This topic was suggested to us by one of our listeners, and she sent us an email, which I will read for everybody now. Okay, I think you get the idea, right? So it's different from wait, listen, and repeat. It's shadowing, following closely. At first, it's very hard, but the more you do it, the more you'll notice word stress, intonation, and even accent. In fact, I noticed I was picking up a Canadian accent about it, that is shadowing. Let's move on. So we've had shadowing, right? Now we're going to look at responding. What is responding? Well, put very, very simply, responding is when you hear a question, You get an idea, and you give an answer. You respond. The biggest problem students have is that they practice by taking a question they already know, preparing an answer, and then practicing giving that answer. But what happens in the exam? Well, surprise, surprise. In part 3, you get strange questions you weren't ready for. What do you think of globalization? Um, 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 uh, and what do you do? First of all, have something to say about globalization. Make sure you've done a bit of research on common topics. Get some ideas. If you don't know, you can always say, "Oh, I haven't thought about that. Let me see." Use a time filler to gain time. Let me see. But the most important thing is that in your practice, as well as looking at these topics, you need to practice responding. Because in part 3 of the exam, the biggest problem students tell me is, I didn't have an idea. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't expecting that. I just couldn't get my ideas out and speak. So, you need to practice responding. You hear a question, you have no idea what it is, you get an idea quickly, and you answer, right? It's a bit of pressure, but as I mentioned before, a bit of pressure is good in your practice. Now, you can do this really effectively if you have a speaking partner. Here's how. 1. One of you says, I'm going to bring 5 surprise questions to our next session. 2. The other person does the same. 3. You come to your session and ask each other these surprise questions. At first it's a shock, but it's like anything. It's like going down to the gym. You practice and you build up the skill. No speaking partner? No problem. You can do a bit of practice on my YouTube channel. If you know my YouTube channel, English Spoken Stories, hidden away in the playlists, go there. There are lots of videos you've probably never seen. Scroll to the very bottom and you'll find 2 episodes that are very useful for you. Now let's try it. Let me just play a question for you. Let's press shuffle and it plays automatically. Do you like your hometown? Oh, that's a good question. Do I like my hometown? Yeah, I think my hometown, Manchester, which is up in the north of England, is a very attractive place. There are lots of restaurants and shops. It does attract quite a few tourists as well. They often come to see the industrial landscape or the football pitches. We have a famous football team called Manchester United. Do tourists like to visit your hometown? Yeah, there are quite a lot of tourists who come to visit my hometown. So, you see what's happening, right? It's just automatically asking me the next question. And I practice responding because I don't know what the questions are. Because it's shuffle, random, so you can practice this anytime. You can also make your own version. Here's how. 1. Set up your own YouTube channel. Don't worry, people rarely find it. 2. Upload some questions, but leave a gap for the answer. 3. Hit shuffle and Bob's your uncle. Fantastic. The next suggestion, describe what you are doing. I know a lot of teachers suggest this as a way of thinking in English. For example, when you're out and about, maybe in the park, and you see different things, describe what you see. Now, I suggest you start with words. Right, so there you are, out and about in the park, and you see, oh, bicycle, person, path, trees, bag, woman, phone, and you're using words, right? And then, as you're walking around the park, you make collocations, little chunks of language. Riding a bike, a long path, a cluster of trees, the woman glued to her phone, having a picnic, maybe, right? And then you go on to make sentences. Okay, this is a bit like what we mentioned earlier. Prepare, practice, present. So you're going from words to collocations to sentences, right? Oh, there's a man strolling in the park. There's a woman riding a bike. And also, there are lots of trees. There's a woman glued to her phone and she looks like she's about to have a picnic. And you go on and on and on, right? Great. You can do it in any context. You can do it at home or when you're out at the shops, wherever. Now you may think, and you may say, yeah, but Ariel, you can't go around the streets talking to yourself. People will think you're mad. Well, yes and no, right? Nowadays, put these on headphones. Nowadays, people walk around and they're on the phone and they're like, hello? Yeah, John. Yeah, I'm in the park actually. Yeah, it's lovely. There's a man strolling over there. There's a woman riding a bicycle. Yeah, I'm good. How are you? That's perfectly normal. To be talking to yourself in the streets, right? And if you're not comfortable with that, you can pretend that you're Johnny English. Hello? Yes, there's a man walking along a path. There's a woman riding a bicycle. And I think there's a woman glued to her phone. She's about to have a picnic. Call in the police. Get Johnny English. Pretend to be a spy. I don't know. It's very, very normal. But the key? Speak out and go from words to collocations to sentences. Great practice. You can do it at home as well. I mean, I'm talking about getting some fresh air. Nowadays, that's not so easy, right?